Hey everybody, welcome to the Mortgage Mastery Mashup Sales Training. See, the thing is, I'm a nerd, so I consume a lot of great content and I love sharing it with you. Over the past couple of weeks, I've listened to several excellent training seminars that kind of tied into each other in some intriguing ways. If you give me a little more time, I'll share the best parts with you, then add in a couple of thoughts of my own to tie it all together. Does that sound cool? All right, here we go. The white knight isn't coming to save you. The giant rate drop isn't coming anytime soon. We aren't really on the brink of a recession. I mean, look, there were literally millions of people who had thousands of dollars to go see Taylor Swift in concert. Go to Vegas. You'll see people waiting in line to spend $20 on a drink that they probably paid $40 to get into the bar. People are just going to keep spending money. And there isn't a refinance boom coming. Rates would have to drop to something like 4.5%, right around there, for more than 20% of homeowners to see benefit from a rate term refinance. And it's not coming. Sorry to tell you this, rates are going to be pretty close to what they are right now for a while, probably a year or so at least. But let's look at the market a different way. We need to look at relationships like a housing crash. Relationships are kind of a housing crash that's going on right now. The same wisdom is telling a whole bunch of you, why would I kill myself talking to a bunch of realtors right now? None of them have any business anyway. Well, that is exactly the reason why you need to talk to them right now. Because that is the cheap land on the edge of town right now. It might not pay off for a while, but if you believe in your town, it will come back. It will pay off. The beautiful part is you don't have to buy this land with cash. You buy it with attention. You buy it with ideas. Be that person that is there for your referral partners through the thin so you can be there through the thick. But here's the thing. You have to go to the edge of town. That means you have to go past the things your competitors are doing. You have to deliver more value. You can't just call up and be like, got anything for me today? You got anything for me today? I sent you a flyer. I dropped off a flyer. I sent you a postcard. No. You have to bring help. You have to bring ideas. You have to make more calls. You have to be more helpful. Bring them more ideas. Why, you ask? Well, let's check in with Carl White from the Mortgage Marketing Animals as showcased on MBS Highway.
Thing happen. And the one thing that I found, if we want to close more loans, I tell you, the most brilliant thing that I've ever been taught is this simple little math here. And it's offers minus no's equals money. And what that means is if we want to make more sales, right, we want to close more loans, we just simply need to make more offers, right? It's just that easy. And we'll talk about what an offer is, but just make more offers. If you make more offers, you'll make more money. Now, another thing about the offers, though, is if we make more offers, we'll get more no's, right? It's a percentage thing. And I know early in my career, I'd focus on how do I keep from getting the no's? How do I keep from getting no's? I don't want to get any no's. How do I keep from getting the no's? And I'm going to tell you, there's only one way to get less no's, and it's to make less offers, right? That's it. In fact, there's one way to guarantee you'll get zero no's whatsoever, and that's make no offers, right? You make no offers, you'll make no money though. And so I think we have to focus on this is that in everything we do, just simply make more offers. Let more people know what you're doing, ask for the business more. And that's really the bottom line. And I sent out this survey about a couple months ago, I think, something like that. And I think we had something like, I don't remember, it was like 30,000 LOs responded to this. And I thought it was very interesting. And it was like, like when making our calls to agents, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. I know you guys got this thing that's really cool too. I want to make sure everybody knows about that. When we're calling our agents, we look at, like some people said, we'll use a script at work. The number one answer was make an excuse not to call. Like, in other words, sit on the nail. And the second biggest answer was, I'd rather eat Brussels sprouts than call, which, by the way, I freaking love Brussels sprouts. I'm just going to go on the record. I'm one of those weird people, I guess. But if we stack these two on top of each other, we see the vast majority, like, make no offers, right? And then a follow-up question to this was, describe what a work week looks for you right now. And, the number one answer, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. First of all, we have to be very careful of doing the best I can, because doing the best I can is the opening line to everybody that loses. In other words, like if like the concession speech for the politician that didn't make it, we did the best we could. The losing Super Bowl team, this is what they say in the locker room on the interview. Well, we did the best we could, and we have to understand there's a huge difference between doing the best we can and doing what it takes.
And that's just great. Well said, Carl. Going to the edge of town is doing whatever it takes to be successful. Wake up. You have to realize that every decent realtor has a loan officer. You have to earn your way in. You have to do something special. You have to be different. You have to make more offers. He's dead on right. There's the old saying that the best way to double your sales is to double your calls. Today, you will be lucky if you can get away with just doubling your calls. Mostly because you're making 0 phone calls, so 0 times 2 is still 0. But even if you are making calls, you have to ignore all of those excuses on that chart. You have to accept that you are going to get more no's. Yeah, I get it. You can leverage social media. You can do drip campaigns. You can drop off flyers. You can use your CRM. But you are still not going to do as well as talking to people with your face, in person. Crazy idea, I know. You will always do better with that. Let's check back with Carl and see what he thinks you should do right now.
Have to really look at like figuring out what's the one single activity that we all do that makes us most our money. Like what's the one single activity? And we have to figure out what this activity is. Now, when doing this, and I'd recommend as everybody's watching this, like literally write it down. Like right now, write down what's the one thing you do. And I see Susan's here on the call. Susan, your one thing might be different than mine. It might be different than Bob's and different from Carrie's and different from Jennifer, all these different people on here today. And so I don't think there's one right thing, but you have to understand what is your thing. And usually the easiest way to figure this out is look at your last 10 closings. And whether that was last week, last month, or the last 2 years combined, like whatever, what's the one thing that was in common with those 10 closings? Like, how did you bring the last 10 in, right? And figure out what that one single activity is. For most of my loan officers, again, this is not an answer for everybody, but for most of my loan officers, it's referral partners, right? Hanging out with referral partners and getting referrals. Part 2 of this question is how many hours, minutes, if any, did you spend doing that activity last week? How many hours, minutes, if any, did you spend doing that activity last week? Meg, you want to guess what the number one answer, when we say, hey, what's the one single activity, and they write that down, then we say, all right, how many hours, minutes, if any, and getting ready for it doesn't count, right? The actual doing it is the only time it counts. You know what the number one answer for how many hours, minutes they did that last week, Meg?
0.
That's exactly right. 0 is the average answer. And so it goes back to that dog sitting on the nail. You know, we have to actually do something about it. And we have to figure out what prevented us from doing the one thing that makes us most our money. Because one thing I found is we have this thing that we call the loan officer roller coaster is, you know, we do activity A, which is bringing in the loans. And then we do activity B, which is closing those loans. And there's this something magical that happens at the red X is where we stop doing activity A so we can start doing activity B. The problem is when we're doing activity B, you know, chasing conditions, putting out fires, like whatever those things are, who's doing activity on our behalf to bring the loans back in? And the answer for almost everybody is nobody, right? So nobody. So it's no wonder we're having trouble. If we can just focus on the activity A part, it looks something like this, you know, where we never stop doing activity A. And the loan officers that are having a really, really, really great time right now, that's what they're doing is they're just focusing on activity A, and they have somebody or some people helping them with activity B so they can continue doing activity A. And so when you go, well, what exactly is activity A? I'll show you something shocking. I saw this stat and it blew me off the chair. So this was not my study, by the way. So the study said 67% of all purchase loans close with the loan officer the real estate agent recommended.
So that is where we need to be right now. You want me to save you some time on this exercise? Activity 1 is making more offers, which means more no's, which leads to a whole bunch of you heading back to that graph of excuses. But don't fall into that trap. Don't do it. You can't do it. You know it won't work. Right now, we have to get back to selling. The days of order fulfillment is over. We have to get back to sales. We have to sell people on why it makes sense to get involved with real estate today. The no's are just part of the game, but you can do things to get less no's. That sounds pretty good, right? Kind of thought it